Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 173 of the Arc Junkies podcast. I just got back from Houston, Texas, and man, did I have a blast this weekend. Outlaw Leather invited me down to Houston, Texas to go over to the Ocean Corporation to do some underwater welding. And if you guys remember a while back, a couple episodes ago, I talked to Richard Johnston of the Ocean Corp. We talked about a lot of the myths surrounding underwater welding and all the things that go along with it. So I finally got to get in the water and do some underwater welding. And this has been a dream of mine since, I started welding 20 some odd years ago, and it was just an incredible experience to say the least. We started off the morning covering some of the basic safety required when you're doing commercial diving and when you're doing some underwater welding, because now you're playing with electricity underwater. So, there's some safety you have to consider when you get in there. And this was one of the things that have been on my bucket list for a long damn time. And I finally got to put a check in that box. It was awesome. And not only that, I got to share this experience with some of my new friends as well as some of my old friends. So I got to hang out with Jason Sasaki of Arkansas Elite Welding Academy, Stephanie Hoffman of Underground Metalworks, Randy with Lumareel. Obviously, the guys from Outlaw Leather were there, Scott Robbie and Austin, a.k.a. Dr. Welds. Child's Play Welds was there. Ashley Applegate and Dalton from KWI, Tyler Sassy of Western Welding Academy, Ray Ripple, Zach, you guys may know him as the Kid That Tigs, Travis Caldwell, Bailey Barnes, and the instructors of the Ocean Corporation, as well as their students. And a huge shout out to their students because they busted their ass all day long. I think they might have taken maybe 20 minutes for lunch, just to kind of take a breather and get rehydrated and, grab something to eat real quick. But I mean, as many people as we had out there, they were just constantly running us through, suiting us up. We did a couple practice dives first in their 8-foot tank before anybody got to do any welding. Get everybody down there, get them acclimated, comfortable, kind of see what the equipment's like, learn to trust that equipment. And, then we got to put a stinger in our hand. One of the coolest parts was I actually earned an underwater welding certificate in the 2F position. And let me tell you, it's a different world welding under the water. You really can't see anything. I mean, I seen the arc, but, there's bubbles popping off around it. The visibility's just crap because, you're in a tank and, you really can't see that clear anyway. And, so you kind of have to do it by braille. It was just all done by feel. And so if you guys want to check any of this stuff out, Outlaw Leather is going to be putting out a new video on their YouTube channel. So make sure to give them a follow, Outlaw Leather Worldwide. Make sure you guys like the episode, subscribe to it, hit that notification bell so you never miss one of their episodes. You can also check out some stuff on my Instagram at Arc Junkies Podcast. I saved a lot of the highlighted stories, and then there's a couple videos and pictures on my Instagram as well. So go ahead and check that out. A huge thank you to Outlaw Leather and the Ocean Corporation for putting this all together and giving us all one hell of a weekend and an experience of a lifetime. Today's episode of the Arc Junkies podcast is brought to you by Fronius USA. And for the month of May, they're running a special deal for listeners of the Arc Junkies podcast. Right now, when you buy any TransTig 170 or 210, you'll get a free phaser welding helmet with your purchase when you go to shopweldingsupplies.com/ArcJunkies. Put the machine and the hood in your cart and use Arc Junkies in the discount box at checkout. It's a $290 value. These machines boast a 40% duty cycle at maximum output power, and the inverter technology will actually compensate for voltage fluctuations when your input voltage is too low. We all know popping breakers while you're trying to work sucks, and the breakers are usually hard to find when you're on the job site. Well, now, this machine will actually regulate the incoming power so you don't have to worry about that anymore. One of the coolest features, in my opinion, is the ability to operate this thing up to 300 feet away with extension cords and not having to worry about a loss in power. How cool is that? With the TransTig, you can run both DC stick, which includes the ability to run 6010 as well, and DC TIG for all your steel and stainless needs. Another great feature of the TransTig is that it only weighs 21.6 pounds. You can literally carry this machine around on your shoulder. The TransTig is highly portable and ideal for mechanical contractors, maintenance welders, and those working in the food and beverage industry, making it perfect for restaurant and bar work. It also comes with a rolling hard case to protect your machine on site while traveling. Get your TransTig 170 or 210 today at shopweldingsupplies.com/ArcJunkies and use Arc Junkies in the discount box at checkout and get that free Phaser 1000 welding helmet with your purchase. Oh, and by the way, you got free shipping. You have until May 31st to take advantage of this great offer. We're also brought to you by Rockmount Research and Alloys, who make the best maintenance welding electrodes around. Whether you're welding to similar steels, cast irons or cast steels, or greasy, painted, rusty parts where you can't get access to prep the joint properly, they've got the rod for you. They make great consumables as well. We all know that welding is only about 20% of what we do. We also need to cut, grind, drill, and prep materials when we're fabricating parts or repairing old parts. Check out Rockmount Welding today and get tooled up for your next job. Whether it's cut-off wheels, grinding rocks, burr bits, flame molds, anti-spatters, drill bits, thread replacement inserts, or even saw blades. They have everything you need, and it's all built right to get the job done. When your equipment is out of the game, it's costing you money every hour it sits. Stop putting Band-Aids on your broken equipment for it just to break again. Fix it once and fix it right the first time, every time, with Rockmount. And make sure to give them a follow on Instagram. And when you call and place an order, tell them the Arc Junkie sent you. We're also brought to you by Everlast Welders. They have a machine to help you get set up as a small business or to get your side hustle up and going. Whether it's stick, MIG, TIG, flux core, or a multi-process machine, they got you covered. They also carry plasma cutters and generators as well. They also carry all the consumables and accessories you need if you already own an Everlast. One of the coolest things they have out right now is the Nova wireless foot pedal. This thing has a range of up to 100 feet. Not that you're ever going to need it, but just in case, it's there. It's also compatible with other brands such as Lincoln, Miller, and ESOT. You can get your pedal today for just $329. Stop by everlastwelders.com today and check out their full line of welding machines to help you along your welding journey. I personally own 2 Everlast welding machines and couldn't be happier with them. Make sure that if you buy any machine that comes with a stock foot pedal, that you enter the code word ARCJunkies in the comment section at checkout to get that free Nova foot pedal and TIG torch. It's a $100 value. The wireless pedal, however, is not included in that deal. We're also brought to you by Manscaped, my #1 choice for men's grooming products. And right now, Manscaped is offering a special deal for listeners of the Arc Junkies podcast. Get 20% off plus free shipping when you buy any grooming products from any of their formulations now through the end of May. Manscaped has precision tools for your family jewels. Let's face it, guys, it's 2021, not 1971. Get with the times and take that next step into hygiene by cleaning up your yard. And you know which yard I'm referring to, don't you? Manscaped sent me the Perfect Package 3.0, and I couldn't be happier. It came with a Lawnmower 3.0 trimmer, which features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their skin-safe technology. You don't want to have a grooming accident, do you? Of course not. So stop trying to use clippers that you use on your head and your beard to shave your most sensitive areas. It's not worth it. The Lawnmower 3.0 comes inside the brand new Perfect Package and comes with everything you need to keep trimmed, cut-free, and smelling nice. The Manscaped Perfect Package 3.0 also includes the Crop Preserver, which is my personal favorite. Manscaped threw in 2 free gifts in their Perfect Package: a pair of high-performance Manscaped boxers and a travel shed to keep all your grooming goodies for when you're on the go. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code word ARCJunkies at manscaped.com. In today's episode, I'm talking with Ashley Applegate and Bobby Pease of Kentucky Welding Institute. I first heard about their program a few years ago from my buddy Ryan Eubank when his students attended one of their welding competitions back in 2018. KWI does things a little bit different in their school, and they crank out some jam-up welders ready for the workforce. When students leave, they have a long list of certifications, credentials, and experience. KWI trains their students for the workforce. I'm sure you're going to find this episode very informative. Let's go ahead and get into it. Fire up your machines, drop your hood, and turn me up 5.
You're listening to the Arc Junkies podcast. Helping you make every weld better than your last with each episode. And now your host, Jason Becker.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, joining me today is Ashley Applegate, Director of Training, and Bobby Pease, Director of Education for Kentucky Welding Institute. How you guys doing today?
Doing great.
Awesome.
Doing good, Jason. How are you, sir?
I can't complain, man. If I did, it wouldn't do any good anyway. Trying to stay on the positive side. So, Ashley, tell me a little bit, about your backstory, because I know you're kind of co-owner but Director of Training of KWI. But how'd you get your start in the industry?
Oh, man, this is a wild story, but I started when I was 3 years old. I would take sparklers and pretend like I was welding like my dad would do. So that was my start, so I can say I've got 40-some years experience, but technically only about 30-some actual years of welding. Had welding in high school, learned a great deal, went to a technical program here and just hit the door running. Worked regionally and locally, opened my own business in 96, and we're still successful there on a small scale. But when we opened our school in 2015, I was just sort of sidelined my little welding shop. I do a couple small projects now for a couple contractors and try to focus here on the welding school first and foremost.
Okay. And Bobby, I know when did you get your start in military or in the welding industry? I know you did some time in the Army, so thank you for your service.
Yes, sir. Thank you. You too did some military time.
I did a little bit.
Yeah.
I did a spell. Played the sandbox for a little bit.
There you go. I was in Afghanistan. I think you did a tour in Iraq.
Yes,
couple
sir.
Tours.
Yep.
Yeah. No, so for me, welding, a little bit of military. So I was in the Corps of Engineers, and in the Corps of Engineers is all the trades. I ended up becoming an officer, but as you went through, you learned a little bit about carpentry, electrical, welding, which is the one I liked the most. We built some case spans, a lot of structural type steel. In Afghanistan, even as a captain, though, I helped put in what we called eagle mounts. So we would do 2 crew serve weapons. When we sat in on the company rolling out, we only had 1 crew serve up in our turrets of our MRAPs. So if your Mark 19 went down, you had no transitional weapons. So we put crew, what we called eagle mounts at the time. We did a second mount up top where we could put a 240 Bravo or whatever, so that if one jammed, you could transition easy and your gunner was still hot. So welding like that in general. When I got back, I was using my GI Bill to go to college and landed a teaching job with welding. Ashley Applegate is actually the guy I've always called when I had some questions. So if we're running something goofy, I have a lot of contest type stuff too. So teaching welding in high school at the high school level, and Ashley would help me a bunch as far as, again, mostly what I learned was structural in the military. So getting on with some other processes and TIG and pipe, I always leaned on Ashley as a local guy that would help me out, and he's excellent.
Nice. So how'd you end up getting hired on over at KWI?
Well, honestly, with my education background, KWI, when we opened up in 2015, we're looking to become a private Ivy League type school. Here in Kentucky anyway, some of the technical schools, just being public, don't hit it as hard, I guess is what you would say. It takes 2 years to get out, and then once you do, we were finding a huge skills gap present. So what companies and contractors were demanding and what education was producing was a Grand Canyon of a cavern between the two. So when I was approached to help think this up, or we talked about how we're going to be different, what's going to happen, and so bringing me on, I brought my education background so we could bring road hard welders off the road, the good guys that were skilled and hardcore, and then I could develop the curriculum, write the lesson plans, do the tests, and we adopted a lot of industry-respected credentials, NCCER, CCO, the American Welding Society, and that package is very unique, I think, across the nation. A lot of big box schools doing some great stuff. I respect, Tulsa's got 3 locations, and they're huge. Hobart has got a long lineage, a legacy of great stuff. But where I think that we do a little better job is that we are preparing our guys with credentials that industry recognizes: an OSHA 30 card, a TWIC card, a Basic Plus card, MSHA, the NCCER that is headquartered out of Alachua, Florida, down there in your neck of the woods. Excellent curriculum that transfers anywhere from Florida to Washington, from Maine to California. So our NCCR curriculum follows a strict guideline of all the practical shop exercises, the tests, and right on through. We saw that the Hill was passing some new legislation, that from now on, a crane operator to be certified would have to be nationally certified. Mm-hmm. Now, we could be wrong, Jason, but we anticipate that soon to come will probably be certified riggers and signal persons to go along with those crane operators. All of our guys graduating from KWI are CCO certified riggers and signal operators. So if it ever does come off the Hill, our welders will that resume will pop for guys looking for a double threat. I get a welder and somebody who is certified to communicate and rig for my crane operators. So that kind of stuff we're just putting in their tool bag. It's helped us out a bunch. The biggest paradox between industry is that everybody wants 3 to 5 years experience.
Yeah.
That's what the company, And Jason, if you don't give me the first year, how can I get the 3 to 5 experience?
Yeah.
So there you are.
There's no company that says
stuck.
1 to 2 years experience or minimum experience. We'll train you.
Right. So the way we've skinned that is that these HR guys that are cruising through that Indeed and those job sites, that they see our students' resumes that are slammed with certifications. They come out with 6 AWS certifications, NCCER, CCO, ASHI, OSHA, and they look seasoned. They might lack a little bit of experience, but we run our shop like a job site anyway. So you'd be surprised at how great our guys do. Mm-hmm. So I might have went off on a tangent, Jason. I apologize.
No, that's perfect.
I get passionate about this.
That's
and
good.
I love what we do. I think we've got a great recipe. I'll stop talking there for a second. Go ahead.
No, that's great. And I think that's the big thing. And I think, newer institutions popping up, because like we're part of a college down here where I'm at. But you get a lot of schools, colleges, for-profit institutions that they just leave a bad taste in everybody's mouth. I've called up employers before and said, hey, my name's Jason Becker here with Valencia College. I've got a welding program and, I've got some students ready to get out. I see you guys are hiring. Is there any way I could set you up with one of my students? And I had a guy call me up. He's like, oh, wait, you're from the college? No. I'm looking for somebody that, we don't deal with the trade schools and stuff. And it's like, because they've put a bad taste in everybody's mouth for so long. And I was like, I'll tell you what, man. Do me a favor. I said, let me send you my best student. And if he doesn't work out, I'll never call you again. But if he works out, you got to call me first next time you need somebody.
Yeah.
He says, all right, I'll do that. I sent my student down there. His resume, no shit, was his interview process was 8 hours. He got into this guy's shop, gave him the resume. They sat down, had the interview. And next thing you know, he's giving him a tour. He's showing him how to run the lathe, the mill, and all this stuff. And he's catching on and going through all this stuff. He called me up and he's like, man, this guy, he worked out great. And my student come to class the next day, man. And he's all, because I gave him the day off of class to go for the interview. I didn't realize it was going to be all day. But he came back and he was like super stoked that this guy gave him the opportunity. And it worked out really well for him. But you get a lot of people that as soon as they hear from a trade school or they see the name of your school at the bottom of the resume, right in the trash can, next applicant, because they're looking for that 3 to 5. But, I think you and I, because we're passionate about what we do, we're passionate about what we teach the students, we want to make sure they get everything that they need, the industry is looking for. They just got to give them that chance to get in the door. So I think what you guys are doing great. That's awesome. And then,
absolutely. And like you said, we do a 2-page resume, help these guys. We spend about a week on employment, doing fake, phone calls with employers, just setting up a weld test, that kind of stuff, just back and forth with the instructor. But like you said, KWI doesn't pop up on the resume till the second. We bury that. Mm-hmm. We bury that because we come across the exact same thing. When we line up tests, we don't say stuff like, they're fresh out of school, because it is unattractive. So many trade schools, like you mentioned, have put a bad taste in these contractors' mouths. Absolutely. And that's because of that skills gap, because for so long, education thought they were producing something cool, and companies and students would show up, or graduates would show up, I guess, didn't even have a stinger, weren't ready to weld. I'm here to take a weld test, and the QC says, well, where's your gear?
Yeah.
Like,
where's your hood?
I just graduated school, and at school, they provided it all, so you should provide it all, and you're running them off. Or you throw them a safety harness, and they can't put the dang thing on. Yeah, or arc gouging up and down the Ohio River here is key for us, and so many guys just don't know how to do it. So yes, it's very unattractive for a lot of these hard-hitting companies to hire somebody fresh out of school, because again, schools just weren't performing at the level that they were needing to pull guys in.
Yeah, and I want to tap in on what Bobby's talking about there. We get a lot of feedback from our graduates that are saying, thank you for making me wear that harness. Thank you for making me wear that hard hat and weld on the floor. We try to run the school like a job, and these guys are prepared, and we get feedback from the kids. But it's awesome when that contractor calls and say, hey, can you send me a few more, like your guy that you were talking about earlier. So it's all works out together for everybody. We've got a product, and they've got a need for that product, and we're trying to fill that gap.
Right. Now, Ashley, when you set together with your other buddies and stuff to put this school together, is this kind of the thought process you had going forward, or is this something you guys have kind of refined over each class that you go through and kind of see what's missing, what we can add here, what we need to pull out, what's not working, what's going forward? I mean, is it staying on track with your vision, or have you guys had to make multiple adjustments as you go forward?
And this is probably a question for Bobby as well, but I'll add my 2 cents in worth on this. I think if we ever stop looking forward and we settle, then we're going to end up just lost in the mesh pit with everyone else. So we're always looking for, what does the industry want next? How can we go after it? When we first started, we weren't doing some of the things, some of the crane rigging that we're doing now. And now that we've added that, we get so much feedback and energy from the company and the students. So what do we want to do next? Well, we'll add more. And so we've already got ideas and plans in the next 2 or 3 years, all the awesome stuff that we're going to be doing. And now we're trying to, like, how can we fit more stuff into our 6-month program? Because we are a welding school, but yet we're training employees to be versatile. So I don't think that the whole thing was envisioned in the beginning. Without a doubt, it has grown over the years. And I think without a doubt, Jason, it's going to continue to grow for the amount of stuff that we're doing.
Mm-hmm. So you said you're a 6-month school?
Yes, sir.
Damn, you get all that done in 6 months.
I did in 24 weeks. Man,
I had to do my signalman, rigging, structural steel, ironwork, welding, safety, and blueprint reading. But we had to do that over the course of, I think I finished my apprenticeship in 3 years. It's usually a 4-year term, but I already had welding certs when I walked in, so that kind of helped out. And then some of my credits from blueprint reading in my bachelor's course transferred as well. But it's a 4-year program. You guys are compressing it down into 24 weeks. I mean, that's really impressive.
It's really fast-paced, just like industry. I went for a safety training not long ago for Basic Orientation Plus, and it's fast-paced. You hear a guy talk, you take a test on retention of knowledge, you got the card, and now you're in the plant doing the job. And so we try to run our school just as fast as industry. A lot of one-on-one attention with our ratio, a lot of time in the classroom, way more time spent in the shop. And it just works for us. It's fast-paced, getting students in, getting them out, getting them a job. It really works.
Okay. And how many students do you typically have? Like, I guess, do you refer to them as like a cohort?
We can run up to 40 per shift, and we have the capability to run 3 shifts here. So we could have, up to 120 students running through this building each day. So we'll start a typical day at 6 in the morning and then end that at 2 o'clock with a shift change, just like you'd have on a job site, one foreman instructor handing it over to the next with a perfectly clean shop, everything put away, ground up, polished up. So when you walk into your booth on second shift, you don't have my spatter and weld marks and arc strikes in your way. You got a brand new clean table looking at you every single day. And the same thing if we're handing off to a third shift, which we've done in the past and are looking for here before too much longer with enrollment. And then third shift hands off to first shift. So it's an intense 8-hour day that we spend here in the shop.
I like the fact that you're having them clean up behind themselves. Like, I go through some shops and it's like, damn, man, this is like a gauntlet to get from one booth to the next. You got rod stubs all over the floor, and like, class ain't even in session. Like, students are done for it because I've toured other facilities and stuff. I want to see how my program stacks up with others, and I get to tour kind of as my duties with the AWS allow me to tour to go to different shops, and a lot of them are clean, but I mean, some of them it's like, how do you guys like expect somebody to work in this environment? Why aren't you having, if you're training the students not to clean up after themselves here, what are they going to do when they get on job sites and they're leaving trip hazards laying around, and they're broken tools and stuff, and unserviceable equipment's not tagged, and like, how do you expect to crank out a quality product when that's what you're telling them that's acceptable here? You're already teaching them bad habits. You're setting them up for failure before they even get out the door.
Right. I've seen some stuff like that as I went around, and here this is their house. Yeah, sure. I think you're always going to have one or two that don't respect or whatever. But for the most part, I think all of our guys and gals here at KWI, they know this is their house and they respect it and they want to try to keep it clean. You never know when it's going to be that student's mom or sister or uncle come in and on the next tour or with us. You never know when the governor's going to be here or one of the national senators or representatives we have. So we always want to try to have a nice looking house, a nice looking shop.
Yeah. No, I agree with you 100%, man. A clean shop's a productive shop. So how many?
Well, and go back to the point on the road. That is what happens. First shift rolls up, second shift rolls out. So if we're going to do these guys any justice, like our niche market is traveling combo pipe welders. So that's what we're pushing them for. But you hire in with PCL or floor, and again, don't understand the transition, the handoff between first and second shift. Then again, we're not doing our students any justice at all. So
right. And what's your instructor to student ratio? So if you got 40 students per shift, how many instructors do you have for those 40 students?
Now our capacity. Go ahead, Ashley.
I was gonna say we run a 15-to-1 instructor-student ratio. So once that number bumps up there above 30 a little bit, then we're gonna bring on that next guy as an instructor.
Nice. No, that's really cool, and I think that's where a lot of other places fail too. Is they have like a 20-to-1 or 25-to-1 student-to-instructor ratio, and it's like, how much time are you actually spending with those students? How much hands-on time are they getting with the instructor? How much one-on-one time are they getting with that instructor to pick his brain and dig in there? Or is he just kind of bouncing around, just kind of make sure, okay, everybody's got an arc going, but I really can't do anything else because, I'm limited with the amount of time that I have. There's 25 of y'all, one of me. How are you going to get around and see all that? So I think 15-to-1 is kind of an ideal ratio. We're getting ready to open up a new program here in Midtown Orlando, and that was the capacity we put forth is 15-to-1. So we got 15 welding booths. We'll have 15 students in there. We're setting up for fabrication because manufacturing is like huge in Central Florida. We don't do much pipe, but I still do want to do some structural components as well because structural's big down here. A lot of construction, it's booming. So same thing, man. What's in industry? What's industry need? That's what I want to make sure that I'm teaching in my program. Yeah,
that's right. That's awesome. Y'all setting up some new stuff and looking at what's in your area. I think is super important. That's one of the reasons that KWI was built and built here in northeastern Kentucky. We have half a dozen power plants within a 2-hour drive or less from our school, and those power plants were hiring welders from all over the place. Now, why can't they hire welders from here? Now, at this point, we're getting students from all over the United States. But when we first opened, we were just regionally looking for those students. Within the first 9 months, we were getting several out-of-state students. But as that traveling welder, now the welders traveled into school, or the students traveled into school. When they get out of here, they're looking to travel to these different power plants and just chase the paper. Yep. Power plant, paper mill, outage, refinery, pipeline, whatever the case might be.
Now, do you guys ever get to bring the students onto like an active power plant or like during a shutdown just to kind of walk around the perimeter, see what it's actually like?
Yeah, we've done that on a couple of occasions. So we went to some chemical plants and toured the facilities with some students. We went to some power plants and toured not typically during an outage because it's so busy, but off outage season when it's normal operating. And then we work with contractors to set up co-op opportunities for our students. So occasionally, and just recently, a large company called us up and they said, "Hey, we're about 6 people short. What can you do for us in the next couple of weeks?" So we worked out an arrangement with that company. We looked at the students who were top-notch in the program with top-notch attendance and top-notch attitude. And we offered those students up to go to this power plant. This company hired them as a regular worker. KWI is not taking any cut. We're just setting this thing up for the experience.
Right.
So we got some students out there that had never seen a power plant inside the fence that are now working in that power plant. In some cases, they're doing hole attending. In other cases, they're actually getting to weld on some tubes. So it's a great working relationship we have because industry respects what we're going to do, and these students are gaining so much from that.
And one of the best comments I heard on the backside of that, I do the midterm reviews, talk to the students about halfway through, how's the program going? What can we do to change, how can we better serve you? And that's been an excellent thing we've implemented here. But one student in particular, Jennifer, was just raving about the fact that she was so nervous. She went on this co-op opportunity, and that co-op, Jason, that's just something we use here. We basically time the students out. We stop their time as far as the 24 weeks they're with us. They get to spend 2 weeks making, in this case, 32 and 110, something like $3 to $4 grand a week, right, on 712 money for an outage. And then when they come back, they make up the hours, either pulling 12, 16s, or we tack a couple extra days on the backside of their program. But they get every hour that KWI owes them. They just get a bunch of money and a resume booster from a contractor on their, before they roll out. So it's awesome. But Jennifer was like, I was so nervous. But honestly, after day one, everything you guys do at KWI, it felt like home. She said, I have zero worries now about rolling out of my first job because you guys have taught us how to sign in, taught us about Lotto. I'm familiar with safety briefs. I understand what a JSA and a hot work permit is. It's all that small stuff that takes the nerve. You don't feel so green. So yes, we teach them how to weld, but we also teach them how to be a dang good employee and know what the job site looks like. So she feels 110% ready for her first job going out. And that to me was the biggest compliment we could get as far as our instructors and our program here, was that she felt settled and ready to be, she felt prepared, and that's what we're trying to do for the workforce.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the best part as an instructor, is getting that feedback after the students have left. They've gone out into the wild, they got their first job, or they've done an apprenticeship or an internship, and they come back and they give you that feedback and tell you how your program actually helped them in that job. And that's the best feedback you can get, because we do mid-course surveys, end-of-the-year surveys, and it's all fluff. It's like, excellent, this, that, and the other thing. Needs improvement, one of those things, and like everybody just circles number 5, so they can get back out in the shop. But it's when they come back and they tell you that, hey, you were right, and putting me up on a ladder, making me wear a harness and weld in an offhand position, that helped me out because I actually had to do that at work today. And, some of the things, like when you took us outside and made us weld in the parking lot, in the middle of July when it was already 100+ degrees outside and we're out there just sweating, running off the engine drives, that helped me because when I got onto the job today, I mean, that's pretty much what the job site's like, so kind of preparing them for that, taking away that shock, giving them that comfort level. And it also helps to build up their confidence when they get out there on site. Yeah. Yeah. One more point that just, I don't know what the questions are going to lead, but something I think that is unique for us is Ashley and I are really the only two that have been here the whole time. And not to say that our attrition on instructors is bad or that we're running guys off. We still have guys that started with us that come back, but our instructors are still on their tools. So KWI is a great landing spot for instructors. They'll come in for a year and a half, but then they want to take an outage. They'll pop out. We'll get someone to backfill their time. And so we're constantly getting fresh perspective straight out of industry. I mean, I think we've all been, had some high school classes where that history teacher had been teaching a little too long, but our guys are fresh like that. Ashley talking about the ratio 15-1. We get guys, students that have been out for a year or more. We'll let them come back. They want to brush up. We're like, well, how much longer before you hit that next job? Oh, 2 months. Why don't you come on in? And we use them as assistant instructors. So now they're just helping out. And that helps that student to teacher ratio come down a whole lot. But again, fresh instructors off their tools, out of paper mills, out of boilers, pipeline, whatever. But just that nice touch. And we've got a bunch of CWIs. We've got, I think, two on second shift right now, walking the floor, 2 on first shift. Ashley and I are CWIs, and then a couple guys that are out in industry right now are still CWIs for KWI and roll back in. So constantly able to test those American Welding Society certifications. They know what right looks like. They're using that CWI out in the field as well. So it's, again, just a good rapport, and I think as professional as real world as we can be. That's a really interesting way to do it. Like personally, I go out and speak with industry, and I've always wanted to take like 6 months off and get back out there and get on my tools and see what's changed. Yeah. Because like you said, things get stagnant. It's like, well, this is how I did it 15 years ago. Well, shit, a lot's changed in 15 years. But I've always wanted to get back Jason, out there. Honestly, one of my requirements when the instructor comes back is they have to give me something. What else does KWI need right now? And it might be a needle purge, in those tight spots with anything, but you have to give me something that we need to implement here at KWI. That's where we got the heat treat machine from. So those guys coming fresh out of industry, like, oh man, it'd be so cool if we could do that chrome with a heat treat machine. Done. We'll get one and we'll start setting it up. But when those instructors come back off the road, they owe me something that they want, that they've seen, that needs to be, just more real world to hear in the shop. So that's freaking brilliant, man. I would love to do something like that. That's really cool.
And these guys they're everywhere. So we don't have, we talk about the power plant a lot because that's a lot of the work, a lot of the business. But these guys are everywhere. We got a guy in right now from a 798. He's a downhill hand. So one of the cool things that these instructors do. So we got guys who are in the Boilermakers Union and the 798 Union. We got guys that work single hand refinery for years and paper mill. So we try to offer, to set the stage, okay, let's showcase what this instructor is doing. So maybe there's a certain day of the week that you got one instructor who's really going to hammer down on some stainless or rock the world out of an 80-10 on a downhill. Yeah, let's showcase that and let these students see, okay, this is what this industry is like, and that's what another industry might be like.
So you guys, I would imagine guys that specialize in API for, all your petroleum-based stuff, and then probably some ASME guys for doing boilers and pressure vessels and stuff like that, as well as chemical plant with the exotic materials. So is that like a good mix of what your instructors have?
Yeah, everybody has their own thing. What does Jason love? What does Bobby love? So we've all got our own thing. That's I would call it my go-to. If I want to show off, this is the one thing I'm going to weld. But another cool thing about all these different instructors that we have, some are former students and some are not former students from here. So you don't have to be an alma mater to be an instructor here. But what is required from you, you got to show down. So the job interview test for us isn't 8 hours. The job interview test is normally 2 days. So that potential instructor, former student or not, has to pass the 6 basic AWS certification tests that we're going to ask them to show the students. Because if they can't pass it in front of me, the CWI, then I can't trust them to go out here and teach the student how to do it.
Right.
So that instructor's got to run the gauntlet before he gets the job here.
So what are your 6 basic AWS certs?
The basic 6, it comes with the certified pipe welding program. They're going to run a 1-inch flux core, vertical and overhead with a backing strip on it. They're going to run a 1-inch stick weld, 60-10 root, open root, filled and capped with a 70-18, once again, vertical and overhead. And we'll pull some side straps out of those and bend them. Then when they get onto TIG, we'll roll through TIG plates. One thing that's unique about our TIG program is we don't start at the end of the plate and work our way across. We start in the center of the plate. So that student has to learn to manipulate and walk that cup equally as good with their right hand and their left hand. So once we develop through the TIG plate, we start certifications on pipe in the TIG. And to pass the certification, we got to witness half the welds made with the right hand, half the welds made with the left hand. So then we'll certify a TIG and stick combo monster. So for those of you familiar with that, that's the 2 3/4 tube at the 5/8 wall thickness. They'll TIG the root and hot pass and 70-18 the rest of that thing out. The next one, the number 4, is going to be the same monster coupon, but with a 60-10 root, 70-18 out. Number 5 is going to be the same monster coupon, but we're throwing a 309 stainless TIG wire the whole way out on that one. And certification number 6 is going to be your Schedule 10 stainless steel TIG welded all the way out. So that is the basic 6. If you can fly through our program, so you got some skills from high school or another tech program or maybe some industry behind you, you finish those out, then it's your program. Do you want exotic alloys? We can certify Inconel, copper, nickel, chrome, moly. Do you want to do some downhill, some branch and bell hole? So all the additional certifications that student wants through American Welding Society are free. So we're throwing the fluff on the program. All you got to do is muscle up and go after it. We're not going to upcharge you for that. We're gonna let you take it. We're going to challenge you to get as many as you can.
Nice.
And I'll just add to Ashley right there. I know we're all voice only, but Jason, you can see the Outlaw Leather hood behind Ashley right there. That's what we call our golden arm hood. Any student that completes the basic 6 and gets anything extra, and again, that's all on us. It's for free. We induct them into the Golden Arm Club. So they're a hard-hitting, skilled individual who has conquered our program in less than 24 weeks, and then they can continue to certify. I think the record right now is 16, Ashley, 16.
Yes, that's correct.
Might have been Max from Alaska there, but he's got, again, just run the gauntlet: chrome, Inconel, super duplex, branch and bell hole, restriction, mirrors, whatever they want. A lot of our WPSs, over 24 now, I believe, come from industry. Basically what happens is, because we're an ATF, an accredited testing facility, with the American Welding Society, a student will find a job, or we'll find a job for them. Maybe it's CCSI down in Georgia, down in your neck of the woods, and they've got a mud wire test. That student sure feels comfortable, I guess. He's passed a couple of monsters with KWI. He's certified, but he's never welded with that flux-coated stainless TIG wire. So we will write the WPS according to that company's procedure. We'll qualify that weld procedure, and that student will certify on that before he goes down to his job test in Georgia. And then we collect those WPSs. So that's where our super duplex WPS came from. That's where our chrome moly WPS came from. We just keep adding to the pile as students find different jobs out in industry. We just keep collecting those. So right now, I think it's up to 24. And again, we've had a student, Max from Alaska, and there's been several, don't get me wrong, but I think he's holding the record right now. And how they do that, Jason, is we have 2 shifts, and those students can stay after if they want. So you might come in on first shift 6 to 2, but if you clear it with the second shift foreman, you can stay from 2 to 10. We've had students who probably get a whole year's worth of training off of us in 6 months because they just pull 16s the entire time they're here, constantly just staying in the weld shop, welding. We also do something kind of cool, unique on Sundays. We open up, I teach a Bible study class from 10 to 11, and then one instructor will come in and do open shop from 11 to 3. And that's where a lot of these demos that Ashley's talking about come into play. Ashley came in and taught RMD, just showcased. So typically speaking, you're going to wait till it's ready in your program to be on that certain process. But Sundays, there's no holds bar. If you want to run some downhill with the 798 instructor, you're allowed to do that, even if you're on plate. If you're not in that spot in your program, it's kind of freelance.
Right.
But we just because a lot of our guys, either they're churched or unchurched, but they're here with us for 24 weeks. So they're away from there, or they have questions just, about creation or about God. And we just tackle it that way. Everything is just topical based stuff from, our tattoos of sin. And we don't think so. We can show you in the Bible where, we just talk about whatever the students want to talk about. We just take it to scripture. And then again, at 11 o'clock, we cut them loose. We buy them free breakfast. It's all on us. And lunch is Pizza Hut, stuffed crust, meat lover. We just throw it on them, whatever they want. So it's 4 or 5 good hours of Sunday. And yeah, they're getting all that extra weld time. Who was it actually that just graduated? I'm sorry. It's Fernando from California. I promise you this cat has, he was here every Sunday. So there's 4 or 5 extra hours every week. And this cat pulled 12 and 16s from the get-go. So we sell a 960-hour program. I'm telling you, he got 1,800 hours worth of training, metal, rods, filler. I mean, he soaked it up. He just knew that this is what he wanted to do, and this is what he was going after. He just tested in with the union, and we don't push either way. I want to go ahead and say that because that'll cause it. That's probably a podcast in itself.
Oh yeah, We've done podcasts on it, videos.
I don't even want to get into that battle. My response is whatever the student wants is what KWI wants for them. So we don't care. Union 9. But anyway, this individual just tested. He slammed them all down. They're passing X-ray. They're throwing restrictions on him. And he's going to go back to California, but walk right in to the union ready to go. So was awesome for us. And we can't wait to see what he conquers out there in the world.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. This segment of the Arc Junkies podcast is brought to you by Strong Hand Tools. Strong Hand makes the tools and accessories you need as a fabricator to help you increase your time and productivity. Check them out today at stronghandtools.com/ArcJunkies and look at some of the amazing tools they have to make your shop life much easier. We're also brought to you by AHP Welders. Want to learn how to weld, tinker, or make, but you're tired of paying your neighbor to do all your tacks and weld all your parts for you? Pick up an AHP for under $1,000. You'll get all the performance you need as a new welder or a maker for a fraction of the price of other machines in the same class. Check them out today at ahpwelds.com. Now let's get back into the show. Damn, that's a great setup, man. So, I mean, what's like your participation on Sundays when it comes in? I mean, you find a fair amount of students from the week are showing up to that, or you got like a select few that you pretty much know are going to be there from week to week?
A little bit of both, actually, Jason. So depending on the topic, maybe we'll pull some different ones, just to, if the topic sounds right, and it's all student based. So basically, what happens is I use a website called PursueGod.org, and it's got 1,000 topics on it. So I'll after a student has been to a Bible study or two, I might just ask him, hey, Jason, would you mind, offline, not in front of anybody to embarrass, but Jason, would you mind picking next week's topic? And then I'll send you the link to the topics, and you just kind of cruise through, and we spend a lot of stuff on regret or anger. So I think for our demographic, that kind of stuff is boiling over. How to act on the job site. I don't know, but yeah, those students pick it. We do have a core crew, I think. Probably 6 that always show up, and then our participation probably out of the I don't know 60 students that we have here, probably 25 or so participate, but. Jason, you might go home to Florida this weekend, so you're not here, but Ashley is. And next weekend he goes back home. And, so it's kind of a come and go type thing, but we get a lot of good participation. The instructors love it. The students love it. And I just appreciate the opportunity to share that faith on a Sunday and make those guys feel at home and answer some of those questions that they've always had, I guess, about life and how that Christianity fits into there.
Yeah. I think that's awesome that you guys actually incorporate that into the program. And I think a lot of things went downhill. And this is just my personal opinion, when they pulled God out of school, and they're slowly pulling the Pledge of Allegiance out. And I think if you match that up with the timeline, that's kind of when the defecation hit the spinning object, right? Or the shit hit the fan, for lack of a better term. And I mean, study your history. I mean, it's right there on the wall. So I think that plays a major role in the way things are working out today. So, I mean, that's really cool that you guys are incorporating God back into the classroom.
Absolutely. And again, just to make it clear, because I know some people will worry about that, we don't proselytize from, so Monday through Friday, we're not preaching at you in the classroom.
Right.
Like if you come up and ask me about my faith, I'll be happy to share it with you. That's part of my religion, is sharing my faith. I'm good with that. We give Bibles as gifts to students when they graduate. It's got a KWI logo on it. We hand those out. That's cool. At orientation, we have KWI customized beanies that have scripture on them, and the instructors pick those. If it's 1 Corinthians 10:31, whatever you eat, whatever you drink, whatever you do it to the glory of God, whatever. And if the students want them, they're free. You can have a beanie. If you don't, if it offends you, don't worry about it. The only time we talk, that we dig into scripture and answer questions is on those Sundays, and that's completely open, voluntary. Again, but it's nothing that we're going to, we're not teaching you how to TIG weld and then stopping you and saying, oh, did you read Micah 6:8? That's
right.
That's not a thing we're doing, putting it in your face. But again, and we feel like that's the most Christian thing we can do. God doesn't force himself on you. It's your decision. Mm-hmm. You could choose him and go one way, or you can deny him and go another. And he's okay with that. He wants people who choose to love him. He doesn't want to force you to do so. So that's how we interpret that, and that's how we act.
No, I think that's a good way to do it, man. Especially, I mean, you got a lot of people traveling in from out of town and everything, and that's usually, I always say that's when people find religion is the boot camp, war, and prison. So when you're away from home and everything, things don't make any sense. I mean, it's always good to turn to the good book.
Yeah, you brought up some old military memories, I guess. No atheist in a foxhole. You've heard that one, of course.
Oh, yeah.
And then in basic training, going through those phases, I do remember that especially during red phase and during the rifle training, the outhouses were always covered in more scripture and leaning on God type stuff. Now the rest, once you got through basic rifle marksmanship, I guess people were loosening it up a little bit. But I know that there was a lot of praying going on, trying to get through, qualifying to get past that phase. No one wanted to recycle, Jason.
Right.
No one wanted to have to do that red phase over again.
Oh, they wanted all the help they could get. So tell me a little bit about the playground you guys got set up, because I know that KWI isn't just welding booths. I mean, you guys got a simulator. By the way, your website's freaking awesome. How you can do the 360 tour and take a walk through the shop. But it looks like you've got like a mezzanine area where people can tie off right there inside the building. But then outside you've got different pipe racks and everything. Tell me a little bit about how all that came to be.
It came from what Bobby said earlier. Then that instructor comes in off the outage, like, hey, we want this simulator. So some of our simulators are tiny. They would fit in a booth like a mirror weld simulator. But we've got other mirror weld simulators, there's some heater simulators from a refinery that are big. These things are 6 foot, and they got to roll in front of that student's booth and stick out in the aisle, and we work with them outside. But then the simulator sort of overspilled. We need more, we need bigger. So we were fortunate to get some water wall tubing donated to us from a power plant. And this stuff was just hammered and junk. Obviously, they're not going to donate us the $1 million a foot stuff. So we took it, and with some instructors and some students, we built a simulated boiler house out in front of the shop. It's got a small man door that you got to enter and exit. It's got a ladder. You got to tie off, wear a 6-point harness while you're in this thing. So maybe you're going in there and you're just, student in week 3. So you're just getting used to the environment, welding some open root plate. But maybe you're a student in week 20 and you're changing a tube out of this old rusty material just like you would find. So we want to make sure that everything in the front of our shop that spills to the outside is part of the job, part of the industry. So it's not unlikely for you to see students, at any time of the day or night outside welding. Matter of fact, a gentleman rolled up this morning. He was driving an Olds Cutlass, and he said, hey, want some work done on his car. I said, well, we're kind of a pipe welding school here. And he said, man, I see guys out here welding before it gets daylight, and they're still welding after dark. He said, y'all's place is amazing. Tell me. So I spent a couple minutes telling him about what we do, because he just thought we were a fab shop or something. I said, no, man, this is what we do. We train pipe welders. And it was pretty cool that all these different simulators we have come in. So, we got some of them that are, again, small. In our piping lab, we've got some ideas that we saw at some of the union training facilities around the state for a flange fitting assembly. And then we build, and as it grows and grows, we have a student in there who will change a pipe, take a pipe, put in a valve. Maybe that student just wants to practice. So we put him on a ladder and tie him off to the rafters, and he's just welding a practice, patting a piece of plate or a piece of pipe in there just to get out of the booth.
Yeah.
You've got to be more than a booth welder, I think, in today's industry, and we try to make that happen.
It's funny when you put them up on a ladder because they don't need to get but 2 or 3 rungs up, and their whole world's turned upside down. You just got to get them out of that comfort zone. And I've done the same thing, man. I've had students, I brought my old harness, my old tower harness into school, put them on the tower harness, just take the lead, clip it right up to the top of the booth. I mean, they're not going to fall anywhere, but, put them up 2-3 steps on a ladder and give them an old piece of rusty plate and have them do, pad welding in the vertical. I said, no, don't clean it up yet. You just weld over top of all that rust and see what it, that's what it's like in the field out a lot of times. You can't get tools to it or you don't have time. People are going to tell you, don't clean it. Don't waste your time cleaning it. Just get up there and weld it and make sure it holds. And, you just get them out of that environment.
Perfect out there.
What's that?
It's never going to be perfect out in the real world.
No, it's never, that perfect gap, that nice tight fit up that you're looking for. There's always a lot of variables. You're going to have to fight your work a lot of times.
And you mentioned gap and mentioned fit up. It sets us apart in that the student prepares all of their own materials here, unless they're taking that monster test, which we're purchasing those out from Triangle. But if I'm ready for my 1-inch certification test, I got to go cut the plate. I got to flame bevel the plate. I got to grind the land. I got to prep it myself. So it's all in the fit up. If I walk in to QC that for that student for the certification, I'm going to ask, is this the land and gap you like? And if they say yes, and they can't say at the end when the route wasn't successful, well, I have a gap too tight. Eventually, this is going to run into pipe. So they're running the pipe bevelers that we have out front, beveling their own pipe. And they're going to start out getting some crummier fit up because they're new to the pipe beveler, and they're going to get some fit up that's not just exactly what they want. So they work their way through that and are able to overcome those poor fit ups. Because I tell every one of these guys and gals, when you get there, I said, I guarantee at some point you're going to have a fitter assigned to you. And maybe that fitter had a flat tire that morning and he's just not in a good mood and he doesn't care about your life. So you're going to have to deal with those poor fit ups, those bad gaps, and you still have to make it happen because you're the one being x-rayed, not the other guy.
Yeah.
And I think it really goes a long way for the student because they appreciate each and every bevel they weld on, and they've learned a lot by prepping those pipes up themselves.
No, for sure. And how soon do you guys, put them on the simulators? I mean, how much time are they spending in a booth learning the fundamentals and basics before you'll throw them on a simulator?
It really depends on each kid. Each student here is different. So we start new students every 2 weeks, which allows us to graduate students every 2 weeks. So on the front side, my instructors don't have 30 new people staring at them like a deer with the headlights coming down their face in the interstate. They got 5 or 6 new fresh blood that they're going to orient, train, throw sparks with a cutting torch, and weld on day one. As that student progresses, one student's going to get to a certain simulator or a certain point, maybe faster or slower than the other student. So it very depends on that student's skill. Some students want a different outlook in the path of it, so they want to do more certification in the booth. Other students want to do more time in that simulator. And then you fast forward to that 24-week period. I'm not looking for 30, 40 jobs because the semester is over. I'm looking for 4 or 5, maybe 6 jobs, and I'm calling contractors, and you get a personal connection. In a lot of cases, the contractors called us looking for the job. In other cases, it's a 2-way street. So the students are looking for the job. And in some cases, we're finding the job, through an internet, an Indeed or a Road Tech type of a search and pushing those out. So we have a really good job placement rating right now, but it's a 2-way street. It takes 2 people. So the simulator is hit just depending on whenever that student wants to get there.
Right.
Yeah, we're 100% self-paced. So even though we start 6 new students, I guess, on first shift, they'll all take off, and we're not going to hold them for 2 weeks on padding in the flat weld or on 60-10 per se. So as far as our QCs are concerned, if that looks good, they move on, and that looks good, they move on. And that's how some people are able to get 16 certifications and some wherever they land, I guess, but completely self-paced. So when you get here, it's up to your skill, your work ethic. And to me, that's the most American thing we can do, I guess, is just let you be you and progress.
I like the fact that you kind of separate them by drive and determination, and that's what I tell my students all the time. Is like the amount of money you guys spend in tuition, don't leave any money on the table. You know, come in here and take advantage of this program. We open our lab up on Fridays. So like we typically have class on Friday, so we call that, you know, like open lab. So we can do, if you got a fabrication project you want to work on, bring it in. If it's within reason, you know, we're not building monster trucks out in the parking lot, you know, but if it can fit into the lab within reason, you can work on your projects, you can work on your fab skills, you can work on anything you missed that week. So if for some reason you had to miss a day, you got a flat tire, whatever, you know, you can come in and make it up on Friday, because our program is based off of hours as well. And then you can get some more one-on-one time with the instructors. Or if you just want to put in additional time, you want to practice on something you're not, you know, you want to fall back onto a process that you weren't too good at, but, you know, now you're on a new process, you got that one kind of figured out, you want to fall back, go ahead. Or, you know, some students, they don't want to test, they don't want to do their certification test with the rest of their peers in the classroom. You know, so we'll open it up on a Friday. They can come in there, it's a little bit more lax. You know, there's not as much going on. They're not confined to that schedule, so they can kind of go in there, relax, and knock out their weld test.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, as you're all doing that, that's awesome.
I was going to say 100%. We've tried, if you look at companies and contractors, Jason, and you know this well, what do they want? They want guys that will show up. So absenteeism is the largest problem as far as completing projects on time, right?
Yeah.
Guys not showing up. Everybody knows that one individual whose grandmother has died 10 times and they hit 24 years, you know, this year, because they're always tardy, always late, always have an excuse. So absenteeism is huge. Skill, like you need a guy that's ready to x-ray and go. And then again, just people who lean forward, take initiative, self-starters. So KWI is built, we call those the three pillars, and we reward heavily on that. We're paired up with Mac, with Up in Smoke, and if you can make it through our program with 0 absences, 0 tardies, we call that 100% attendance. You know, you're awesome. We give them free apparel from Up in Smoke, and they get a pick. If they make it through, get our 6 certifications plus 1, they get that Outlaw Leather, fully logoed, hand painted hood. So that's reward number 2. So you show up to work on time and you're here every day. You have skill and drive. And then the next thing we do is if they graduate and can report back to us 30 days worth of employment, like they hit the ground running within the first 3 months they graduate, we're going to send them a heavy hitters 250 amp TIG rig with an Outlaw Leather custom handle on that thing. So we're trying to reward these students. That's a lot of gear right there. Each of those 150, 200 bucks a pop.
Oh yeah.
But we don't care. We want to motivate those, put those carrots out in front of those guys, because if they can do that, that's exactly what industry is wanting. So those will go hand in hand. Those guys will be successful. And again, that's why we, for free, continue to certify them on that super duplex, that chrome, that Inconel, because those are the kind of students we want to put our names on anyway.
Yeah.
So we're going to continue to pay and put those expensive fillers, expensive base metals, and continue to send Miami, Florida, those extra checks to add those lines on those CW cards all day long.
No, and that's great, because I mean, once they leave your program, I mean, those students, and I tell my students all the time, you're a direct representative of this school and the instructor that you train with. You know, so if you go out there and kind of half-ass it and sandbag it and everything, I mean, that's a direct reflection on us and our training and stuff like that. You know, so I always tell them that our school's a filter, not a pump. You know, so you can get dropped from the program just by having poor attendance, poor grades in the class, not putting forth sufficient effort, because I don't want you to go out there and put that bad name in everybody's mouth, like we talked about earlier in the episode. You know, you're a direct reflection of the program. So I want you guys to go out there and do great things and let people know that, you know, this college, this school, you know, we produce high-quality welders, high-quality fabricators. You know, this is what we do, and I don't want to accept anything less from the program. And I think, you know, a lot of students, they don't have that drive coming in. They can learn a lot along the way, you know, especially if you kind of build them up and encourage them, because a lot of students today, you know, when they come in, they don't have that confidence. Some of them do, some of them don't, you know. So, I mean, you got to work with some and kind of use others that are kind of paving that way as an example.
Hey, I'm going to go ahead and add to you right there that we do not require our instructors to put our name on any students. That's something that student has to earn, because, you know, in the trade, your name is worth something. You get a couple guys on that stink, you're going to get blackballed just like they are, because you're the one that drug them in here. So those superintendents don't want you back anymore. So we don't. The students know that up front. If you want the instructor to say good stuff about you, then do good stuff. It's that easy. Do you want Jordan to say that you show up every day on time? All you have to do is show up every day on time. If you want Dalton to brag on how good you work and how hard you work, All you have to do is work hard. But we're not going to lie for you, and our instructors will never be leaned on to call in good references on you. They're just going to tell the truth.
100%.
And like you're talking about as far as defending the brand, same way. We toss guys below 90% attendance. I mean, no refund, no pass go, don't collect $200. We'll toss you if you drop below 90% attendance. What else? Drugs. Jason, that's the second test these guys got to take on the road, is that drug test. Mm-hmm. We oral swab at orientation. We pull random urinalysis throughout the program, and we're pulling hair right now in month 5 and month 6. We want our guys clean. We want the contractors knowing that if they pull someone from KWI, this individual is good to hook, ready to go. And we've caught a lot of flack on this. A lot of guys just Instagram, I guess, keyboard warriors telling us that this is too much. We're invading privacy. This is, we have a breathalyzer. On long weekends, coming off 4th of July, coming off New Year's Eve or whatnot. Just like on the job, that safety is standing there occasionally. Not every job, don't get me wrong, mm-hmm. but a lot of safeties will be breathalyzing on the way in, and it's a zero tolerance. If you're hot, then you're tossed. We do that too, to show our students exactly what industry is like. And I love it, Jason. There's guys that Ashley's had people at orientation. I guess they didn't do their homework. They didn't read our website, but Ashley will be given the oral, and they'll stand up and walk out. And we love that, because you just saved us time, headache, all kinds of stuff. If that's the kind of lifestyle you're about. And what we love about it, what we brag about, is if you're the student that's not about that stuff, if you're not about the drugs and the alcohol, ripping and running and too much, if you just want to come here and weld, this is awesome. We've sorted those guys out. They're not here. So iron sharpens iron. If you want to come train with people who are like-minded, lean forward, passionate, self-starting, hardworking, this is it, because we've culled out through our attendance policy, through our drug policy, through our breathalyzing, that those guys don't show up here.
No, I think that's brilliant, because you're preparing them for what they need to enter the workforce. So not only they need welding certs, they need to understand how to weld and rig and fit and grind and use tools safely and stuff like that. But you also and pass a weld test. But what else is the employer going to have you do? Everywhere you go, that's worth a decent wage, they're going to piss test you, or they're going to do a hair follicle test. So that is freaking awesome. You're setting them up for success right off the jump. You're cutting out all the BS on day one.
And the breathalyzer, again, we're not telling them they can't drink. Have your fun on the weekend, but realize you got to come in straight Monday morning. These companies, contractors are not going to put up with it. You can't come in sloppy off a Sunday, hitting it hard, and not expect to get walked off that job site. You're going to get somebody hurt to boot. Yeah. The companies don't want to handle that safety violation and bring an ocean down on their job site. So, I guess go ahead, have your Fridays, have your Saturdays, but understand that that you got to cut it off at some point in time and be straight and ready to work come Monday morning. And that's how we treat it. And our students know. It's not anything. It's not a secret. We let them know, hey, 4th of July weekend, we'll be breathalyzing on Monday. So have fun responsibly and be ready to come back and train when you.
That's a good way to do it. Have you noticed that employers have been more responsive as far as reaching out, because they know that they're getting a complete package. They're getting somebody that can actually pass the weld test, do decent on the interview, and pass the piss test.
Absolutely. And some of this has come from, we have what we call a PAC, a program advisory council. So we've got guys that sit, that they are superintendents, owners, contractors that help us decide, to go left or to go right. And when we pitch these ideas, they absolutely love them. They love our tight attendance policy. They like some of these, maybe I'm not going to name any names company-wise, because I hate to get something wrong here, Jason, and me go on record. But there are companies, and you know them, that you piss hot anytime. Piss hot when you're 18, and don't call them when you're 40.
Yeah, they'll never let you back in.
You're
Yeah.
blackballed for life.
There's a big theme park down here. I'm not going to mention any names, but there's really only two big theme parks. But one of them, I mean, like if you write something down, because when I was with the ironworkers, we had to do a background check for the ironworkers, obviously. But when you go out to this specific entertainment company or amusement park, you have to list everything that you've ever done. If you've ever had handcuffs on your hands for anything, whether it got thrown out of court or not, you've got to list it. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to get kicked out or disqualified. You just got to list it, because they're going to compare what they find against what you wrote down. And if something's not jiving, you get blackballed. And it could be a simple mistake, but you didn't list it. You weren't honest and 100% transparent, and they found it. And I had one buddy, I mean, he literally had to go to like 4 or 5 different counties to get his arrest record. I mean, nothing against the guy. He's Awesome dude to work with. He's got hella work ethics. I mean, the Department of Corrections did a jam-up job on him, and he learned his lesson. But he had to go to, like I said, 5 or 6 different counties to pull his arrest record, to transfer everything over, to fill out his background check. And he was able to get in because he was 100% transparent. And then, we've had other people that, they got popped for marijuana, they got pulled over, found a substance in their car or whatever. They're like, it was under, X amount of grams. They're not going to see that. It's been expunged from my record. It was happened when I was 16. It's in my juvie. They can't find that. They didn't list it. Well, guess what? Boom, you're blackballed. You'll never be asked to work out there again. And they're one of the best companies to work for, in my opinion, because they kept me working year round. I mean, a lot of my other brothers and sisters with iron workers, they went out for 6 months, 3 weeks, 5 weeks at a time. That company kept me working year round. So, I mean, you got to, it's a fine line to walk between, being able to pass a drug test, pass a background check. Having a valid driver's license is a key thing, and reliable transportation. I think that's one of the biggest things. Like, how many flat tires can you catch in a single term, man?
Right.
Jason, when you mentioned the background check there, that just leads right into some of our other, options that we do for these guys. We were having some contractors and they were applying for jobs and it would always say TWIC card required, TWIC card required. Well, down south, I'm sure you're familiar with that, but some of these guys up north, they haven't got that familiar. So we set our students up an appointment. We cover the cost. They just got to show up. Right now it's in Lexington, Kentucky, so it's about an hour from here, and they'll do that federal background check and that fingerprint analysis and get that TWIC card issued from the Homeland Security. Because if you apply for those jobs and don't have it on hand, they're not going to call you back. They can't wait 6 weeks for the card to come in because the job is over with. So again, it's just one more thing industry's looking for that we're padding that kid's wallet with.
No, that's awesome. And how'd you guys kind of develop the certifications, like the bare bones certifications that they're going to need and come up with the, using NCCER and, all the other qualifications you guys did? I mean, what was it like to put that process or put that list down, and say, this is the no BS list. This is the stuff they've got to have to be successful once they get out.
Yeah, I think like Ashley said, we run a continuous improvement model here. So basically, Jason, every day I wake up, I want to be 24 hours better than I was yesterday. So we attack KWI the exact same way. When we started in the beginning, we came up with what we felt was a pretty unique certification package. It was a grassroots approach. That came from companies and contractors, supers and QCs, GFs telling us, hey, this would be nice if we could get guys that had this. And we started with that snowball. But as we pushed it down the hill, Jason, we added, we went from, I think, 4 AWS certifications to 6 because we were seeing that stainless on the Monster, stainless out, and that Schedule 10 would add a whole lot more opportunities to students, looking for the job boards. Like Ashley said, that TWIC was something that we just saw, just too much, too frequent. People asking for that TWIC. Basic Plus the same way. A lot of times, I don't know if you surveyed the field, how many traveling welders have their Basic Plus in their wallet right now? Because when that job pops up and they're looking for guys Basic Plus required, if it's only 10 or 20% in the industry that have that, our guys have the upper hand. And so they're moving right in. OSHA and AMSHA were easy. We were lucky. Ashley's background had mine safety health. He's been on the mines above and below. So he was able to become an instructor. That's pretty unique. The rest of us honestly couldn't get that because we haven't spent the time. We haven't been in the trenches there, so to speak. But the majority of our instructors here are all OSHA outreach instructors. So we're, all that safety's first and foremost. They're CWIs, CWEs. They're instructors with NCCER. Ashley and I are both master trainers with NCCER. CCO, practical examiners. So again, just seeing that uniqueness and what else, I guess we just dream it. I think sometimes Ashley sees me coming. He's like, I don't know, Bobby, what's the new thing you're wanting to do? Right now it's we just got our silver card with NCCER. So basically we were handing out blue cards, which means you've been trained. So you had training transcripts on your NCCER blue card. Last year, we got an accredited assessment site, so now we can do silver cards. We can certify you. If you think you're a J1, come on into KWI, and you can challenge that card. You'll be given a written test, and we'll take you to the shop, and you have to do 8 or 10 practicals and show out. And if you pass, then you get that NCCR silver card. That, PCL or Bechtel, they're paying $3 and $4 an hour more for that silver Boilermaker card. that's a lot of money. And this spring, we just passed our gold card endorsement. So now now we can certify with NCCER2 the rigger and signal. So now we've got, I mean, essentially, I don't know anybody else who's certifying crane operators, signal and rigger. It's CCO and NCCER, the two. And KWI is a one-stop shop here. We can do them both. And so the next crazy thing, I think we've got a carry deck crane here that we use to train the students. Again, we're all about hands-on. So we have a crane here that students are actually signaling, actually rigging for out. We've got a little gravel parking lot that we play around in. But we want to go ahead and certify them on carry deck cranes. Anywhere they go, they're going to have to be qualified, certified with that company. Why not? So that's the next thing we're going for. I'm going to spend another couple weeks, I guess, in Alachua, getting that trainer card for that. And we're going to start certifying students on the carry deck cranes. And it's not a big thing. Don't get me wrong. It's not a huge crane. But again, it looks good on a resume. And if I'm hiring and I have carry deck cranes, why not hire a welder that already has it? I can put, I qualify them real quick, and then I feel good about them operating on my job.
Nice. So,
but everything I feel like I get off on tangents.
No,
Jason,
that's fine. I love tangents. I love the passion, man. Keep it going.
The whole thing, brother, is just continuous improvement. What can we do better? I feel like it'd be hard to catch us in a race because we're never done running.
Right.
We don't know how many laps we're going around this track, but we want to be better if we want to get that time down every single time. So I don't know what we're going to be adding next year, the year after, but it's going to be something. We're going to come up with something to keep putting in those graduates tool bags as they graduate and get out in the industry.
I love that, because we do the same thing at the end of every cohort. I kind of get my instructors together, what worked, what didn't. Here's what they're doing out in the industry. Same thing, like you guys are teaching RMD now and STT. And I mean, those are new innovative processes that if nobody else is teaching them, they're not going to be hiring anybody. That's the same reason I don't teach oxy-fuel welding anymore. Like, nobody's looking for it unless you're going to do some HVAC, sweat and pipe or something like that. That's deleted from the program. I don't even teach that. But, I want to make sure that everything that we're teaching is relevant, what the employers, the manufacturing companies around, my area, or the structural companies, that's the skills they're looking for. That's what I need to be teaching in the program. So we'll add or delete components.
I don't want to poke, but yeah, I think the community college system in our state still teaches the oxy-fuel.
Still teaches the same stuff they've been teaching 20 years ago that nobody's hiring for.
Right.
Yeah. No, you got to be fluid with it, man. I mean, like, as fast as technology's changing with, like, especially with advanced process welders and pulse spray and different, like, Rapid Arc, Rapid X, STT, RMD, all these different things, you got to be proficient with that, because, that's what industry's starting to use. They're starting to realize that, hey, man, we can increase deposition rates, we can increase travel speed and stuff like that. So we're decreasing man hours, so we're saving money. We're able to pay our employees a little bit more money, invest in better equipment. You got to be able to walk in there and do that stuff.
Right.
Now, that's great. So where can people find more information on KWI?
You could pretty much find us anywhere, I think. So Twitter, Facebook, we got them all. Instagram. I think we've got a TikTok now. You're probably better at that than I am, Jason. But our website is hot all the time. KWI.us. Give us a call. We actually, this is a wild story for Ashley. So if you call the AWS, I think their last four digits are 9353. They spell out weld. Mm-hmm. Ashley, with his business, always wanted that number, but it was always taken in our county. Couldn't get it. In 2015, when we opened our doors, we called and said, hey, we're shot in the dark, but we'd like 9353. If it's possible to get 849 weld. And it was open. So Ashley, poor guy, been fighting for that number for 25 years. KWI opens up, and that's our number. So
I finally got it.
Nice.
849 weld, and you can talk to us there. But hit us up. I answer. I kind of do the chit in the chat with any prospective students. They get on our website and do a contact us form, and I'm texting them right away. So I don't care if it's 10 o'clock at night or 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm up and I'm tossing them back, answering their questions or whatever they need. We've got a huge YouTube channel that I love. It's not as big as we'd like to be. I mean, those Outlaw Welding Worldwide, they're boosting up right now, and I'm so proud of them and what they're doing right now. But we've got some really good testimonials, and most of them are videos from me, so they're pretty low key. But they're real. They're students and graduates that are just telling their story and why they came and how productive they're doing right now. We've got a 100K hood wall. Haven't even talked about that yet. And it's nothing, well, it is something I guess we talk about and advertise a little bit, but we don't promise it to everybody. Don't get me wrong, Jason, because it takes a lot. And it's work, and it's staying on the road, and it's drive. But there's probably a little bit of luck in that too, as far as, I got laid off and the next job stitched in. But we've got a wall up here that we're pretty proud of, and that's students that graduate from KWI, and then their clock starts. If they can, in 12 months, give us the pay stubs, the W-2s that prove that they grossed $100,000. Then they retire their hood. We hang it up here and we give them a brand new hood. Some guys though don't like to give them up. You know how that is. We're all pretty nostalgic about our hoods. But that 100,000, I mean, we've seen a lot of 18, 19-year-olds just break out with that. My favorite student of mine, TJ McSorley, was a complete career change. He felt like he was in a dead-end spot with a certain profession, I think auto mechanics, and he just wanted to retool. He had a wife and 2 kids, and he trusted us. This was probably the most, for me, this was the biggest, most serious moment that we had, I guess. KWI had been appealing to a lot of high school kids, and that's young and fun, and there's lots of options for them, you know. But when this individual uprooted his family from North Carolina, packed them all up with a loan and came here, I mean, Ashton and I literally on a Saturday, I think, looked at each other like, this just got real. This guy, you know, this guy needs to put food in mouth. Like, he's got 2 daughters and a wife depending on him, and they're trusting us to get this guy ready and put him back out there, you know, in 24 weeks, pulling paychecks. And he did it. Hardworking individual, 24 weeks. He had never, Ashley, you can tell the story better than I can, but I don't think he knew which end of the rod to put in the stinger. You with me? That's how green he was to welding. But he came out a certified pipe welder, and he broke $100,000 the first year out of KWI, and still keeps in contact. We love his story. We love talking to him and keeping up with his girls. He just had a son. He's been a while now, maybe a year or 2, but just watching that family grow and seeing what welding, the opportunities it provided him, has just been really heartwarming and just a blessing to us.
It's always awesome to see the change of life stories when they come through the program.
Yeah.
No, that's great, man. I appreciate you guys taking the time out of your evening. Hopefully I'll see you guys down in Texas probably tomorrow. Do a little bit of underwater welding with the Ocean Corp. Outlaw Leather Worldwide has invited us down there to do that. So I'm looking forward to doing heading down there. It's something I've always wanted to do. Have either one of y'all had a chance to do that yet?
No, not yet. We're looking forward to that on Saturday. We'll be down. We're catching the late night flight out of here tomorrow, and we'll be down there. We'll see you guys bright and early Saturday morning.
It sounds like a plan.
Well, Jason, we appreciate you hosting us, sir. It's been fun. Honestly, I thought we'd been on here 20 minutes, but look at the clock here. It's an hour and 15. That's beautiful. I just enjoyed the conversation, and I love what this industry does. I've always said it. It's awesome to watch down here in the shop. Typically, we're pretty rural. You know, we're wranglers in boots. But brother, we see all kinds of stuff down here, and I love that welding just connects people. Mm-hmm. You know, meeting Stephanie Hoffman, meeting Ray Ripple, just watching how it works. I just love this industry so much.
The community is freaking amazing.
It's the best part of America, really. We can all be diverse. We can all do us, and we can meet together with like kind, you know, and just, I just love it. I appreciate it. So great talking to you. We met in Houston, Jason. I won't be at the underwater deal. Ashley gets to do that. I think Dalton will be down there, so I'm going to miss out. But I appreciate that Ashley gets to meet you, because it was great talking with you and hanging out with you that weekend we had in Houston. So hats off to you.
Okay. Well, tell Pretty Boy Wells there to stuff a couple extra bottles of that Ale-8 in his bag. I want to give that a shot.
Hey, me and Bobby are chugging them down.
I seen it there. I was trying to find it on Amazon. I do. I like Canada Dry, so maybe y'all can change my mind. I was looking for it on Amazon. I almost bought a case of it.
There you go. We'll ship something down to Florida, brother. We'll make it happen.
All right.
Hey, it's available nationwide at Cracker Barrel restaurants now. So
I'm gonna have to hit up Cracker Barrel
and get you in the cold Ale-8.
Okay, I have to give that a shot. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this week's episode of the Arc Junkies podcast. Make sure to subscribe on your favorite app so you never miss an episode. You can follow me on Instagram at Arc Junkies Podcast, or email me directly, show@arcjunkies.com. Stay safe out there, and until next time, make every weld better than your last.